Welcome to the 2010 Oregon Youth Convention podcast, presented to you by the Oregon Ministry Network. Youth Convention took place October 7th through 9th at People's Church in Salem. The following message entitled, God, What's the Point?, was brought to us by Jeremy Johnson during the first general session.
There are some questions in life that are important to figure out, okay? We gotta realize that. And tonight we're gonna talk about some of those questions. All of us have had a time where you've had to ask a question and you needed to know the answer right away. For me, there was a time in my life where I asked a question and I wanted a quick answer. It was when I got on my knees and I said to my wife, wasn't my wife yet, will you? How did you know? Okay, stalkers. Okay, yeah, that's what I said to her. I said, will you marry me? Okay, a question that I didn't want any delay to. You know what I'm saying? Is that wouldn't be a good thing. All of you have had a question maybe that you've asked and you need to know the answer really quick. Where's the bathroom? Okay, you need to know quick, you know? Questions are crazy because the answers will determine a lot about the direction we go. And there's a question tonight that I want all of us to think about is what will you do with Jesus Christ? What will you do? Not what will your mama do, not what will your youth pastor do, not what will the person sitting next to you do. The most important question, the only question that really matters to you tonight is what will you do with Jesus Christ? And I realize I'm chucking, words at a whole pile of people who come from different backgrounds. And there's some of you here, you're like, you've got it down. I mean, you've been to these things like all your life. You're really like good at being able to hear what Jesus, words are for you. I mean, you might like have your Bible like almost memorized. You're like Bible drill champion, and you can find it. That's good, okay? And some of you, you're like, if I were to hand you a Bible, it'd be like trying to hand you a carburetor and say, fix it. You're like, I don't know what to do with this, and it could be awkward. Well, I want you to know, no matter where you are in that journey, that tonight is a night where I think you can determine an answer to an important question, is what we do with Jesus Christ. Now, it's interesting is we all have to figure this out. No one can do it for us. We've all got to wake up to what the answer is. Now, how many of you, show of hands, there's two types of teenagers. One type is someone who is an early riser. How many of you are early risers? Anybody? Okay, you're definitely outnumbered. How many of you are people who can sleep in? Okay? Yeah. That's what I thought. You guys are like, you're getting up at the crack of dinner. Okay, you're like, you're just good like that, There's two types of people. Two, is I'm the type of guy, I'm an early riser. I mean, and when the alarm goes off, here's what I hear. And I'm like, shooting out of bed. I'm like ready for the day. I'm like a ninja. I'm like, I slap that alarm clock off. I've never once in my life hit the snooze button because I can't stand the thought that I'm going to have to wake up pretty soon. So I always wake up as soon as my alarm hits. If I don't wake up, nervous that my alarm's going to go off in the first place, okay? I know I'm weird, but I think the rest of you are weird. So that's one type of person. My wife is the opposite. When the alarm goes off, here's what she hears. Psst. Hola. I am your alarm. But don't be alarmed. I'm not going anywhere. You just lay right there. Pretend you don't hear me. I'll be here all day. All you got to do is touch me every 9 minutes. It drives me nuts. Now, some of you are like that. Well, think about this. Is tonight, I hope there's an alarm that goes off. And I realize that some of you are going to be like, whoa, okay, wow, God's got something for me. And others of you will be like, I don't know. And you're going to process it, and that's totally cool. But I want all of us to understand this. But bottom line tonight is this. That your value comes from God and you will find value only in God. That's the only location you'll ever find value. You can't find value in relationships. You can't find value in academics. You can't find value in sports. Nothing that is the value that comes from God. And some of you have not experienced that. And we all want value. I mean, I want value. I remember there was a time in my life, especially when I was in high school, I wanted to be known for something. I wanted to be valued. I wanted to be loved. And I was willing to do all sorts of crazy things. And one thing that I thought would get me value is doing good in sports. And so I got to the state tennis tournament. And I went down to the tennis tournament. And I was thinking this. If I could win the state championship, everyone at my school would be like, wow, that's cool. You know, you got a big trophy. You're number one tennis player in the state. So that was my goal. I want to be known. I want to be valued. I want people to think something of me. I go down to the tournament, and I just got whipped. I mean, I'm telling you, I got worked. Both matches, I lost really bad, and I felt terrible. And then afterwards, this girl comes up to me, and she said, and I was bumming, right? You know, and she's like, Jeremy, don't be depressed. I thought you did good out there. She goes, and I thought you were the cutest tennis player in the whole state. Huh? I said, thanks, Mom, but I really wanted to be known for something, you know? And what's crazy is we all go through these things. We want to find value. And it's cool that maybe a parent finds value in you, but we really want to find value outside of just that because we think they have to value us or something, right? Well, value is an interesting thing. I want you to see some words here on a screen. It's a true thing about life. Some things in life, let's go backwards a little bit. Let's go backwards a few. Boom, there we go. Some things in life are loved because they are valuable. It's the only reason they're loved. Because they have a high price tag. High price tag. Because of that high price tag, we love them, okay? For example, it could be a car. You know, let's look at a couple of pictures of things, okay? Some people would like that car. You're like, okay, I like that. And the reason you would love that is because there's a high value. For some, it's something you could collect, like a baseball card or something, you know? That's Mickey Mantle's Rookie, just a little piece of cardboard, but worth dozens of thousands of dollars and people will love it because it's valued. For others, it's like a home. They want to buy a home, and they love a home because it's valued. Now, I want to take those same words and I want to flip them, okay? Some things in life are loved because they're valuable, but other things are valuable because they're loved. Freeze right there for a second. I want you to really get that in your noggin, okay? This is a checkup from the neck up. I want you to really use your brain. So here we go. Some things in life, we love them just because there's a high value. Others have a high value because they're loved. Let me show you a picture of what I'm talking about. You see this little girl with a teddy bear. Okay, guys, okay. Let the girls express emotion too, okay. All these guys are like, look at this little cute teddy bear. You know? Okay, now check this out. This girl, we don't know her story. She's sitting in a courtroom. We don't know what's going on. But that teddy bear right there is a nasty old beat up, ratty. If I were to take that teddy bear and take it from that girl and rip it out of her arms and wrap it up in silver shiny wrapping paper, and next Christmas bring it to your house and give it to you, and you open it up and it's Christmas Day and you see this little girl's teddy bear, you're going to open it, you're going to say, okay, man, this thing, it's ratty. It's got snot stains all over it. It's got an eyeball hanging off. It's got stitching sticking out the sides. And it smells like an ashtray, okay? You are not going to be fired up because you don't love the bear. But check this out. This little girl, man, if you try and rip that out of her hand, she's going to be like, oh, no, you didn't, okay? Because she loves that bear. Now, I don't want to mess up the way you think of God, but as you look at that picture, God holds us valuable. Some of you right now, tonight, you feel like that teddy bear. You feel like maybe you don't got a lot to offer. Maybe no one in life looks at you and says, wow, there's someone special. Wow, man, you've got a lot of potential. Wow, I think you got all sorts of gifts. I think you're cool. I think all these things. And maybe you don't feel, maybe today you didn't get a lot of attention. Maybe you feel like you can disappear and no one would notice. Listen to me. It's not true. Because God loves you. And you might not even believe in God. And that's cool, but that doesn't mean God doesn't believe in you. Because God is real. He does love you, and you're his most prized possession. It says in Ephesians chapter 2 that we are God's handiwork, created by God to do. God's got plans for us. He's got purpose for us, and we find that purpose and value only in him. What's the point of life? If you don't ask why, then why? You've got to figure out why we have life. Why are you here? Why are you on this planet? Because God has purpose for you. And you can't find that apart from him. Quick story is this. The Bible is a thick book. This is a thick book, and it's not a thick book because it's packed full of rules. It's a thick book because it's packed full of just a bunch of stories, and each story tells a different way how much God loves you and me. And it's got a bunch of knuckleheads in the Bible, and they do dumb things, but God still sees something in them, and there's a story about how much he loves even all of us who are messed up, right? And so what's crazy is this Bible starts off in a garden. Well, it starts off, God creates the world. He creates the planets. He creates this garden, and he creates man, and he creates woman. And he's got this amazing deal, and they felt the value of God. God created everything good. Every time he created something, he says, this is good. This is a good thing. And he created man, he says, no, that ain't good, okay? It's not good for him to be alone. And all the guys are like, amen? All right? Some of you are like, okay, I'm going to accomplish God's purpose in my life this weekend because I'm going to get married, okay? Not this weekend, okay? But God created this deal. God's got this amazing creation. God designed you in such a way where just by having a relationship with those around you, you're going to know more about God's heart and God's love. God created family in such a way that through your relationship with your parents, you will know more about God's love. God created this amazing environment for us to live, to love, to be able to grow up and understand who he is and have an incredible relationship. That's an awesome God. God is so cool that he finds value in all of us. But the problem is this. We have an enemy, and the enemy hates us. And so the enemy takes his creation and totally screws it up. And begins to come in and speak death and defeat over us. Some of you right now, when I talk about your family and how God wants to use your family to show you how much he loves you, some of you, that's a painful deal. And for some of you, you're like, you know what? I don't even know if I love God because of my family, because of the pain I've experienced. How can a loving God? And we start thinking like that. It's not because God isn't loving. It's not because God isn't a good creator. It's because we have an enemy who came in and messed things up. And I want you to know tonight that the enemy has a desire to absolutely destroy you, to absolutely speak death into your life, to create such an environment where you can't see God's good work. And so if you can't see God's good work, what you're left saying is, why? Why am I here? What's the point? I lock eyes with over 100,000 teenagers every year. And a lot of these teenagers come in and they have this blank stare because they don't know what's the point in life. Why is suicide still one of the top 3 killers among people your age? It's because people don't know what the point is. And I got to tell you, God has gone way out of his way to show us that there is purpose, that there is value, but we will never see it if we have our eyes focused on the mess around us. You see, if one of the best painters ever, Leonardo da Vinci, and he painted all these amazing portraits, and we were to collect all these portraits, and what happens is we collect these portraits, we put them in this big gallery, and we said, okay, this is going to be an awesome gallery, you got to come and check it out in the morning, but what happens in the middle of the night is some vandal breaks into the art gallery, takes all this black paint, and starts pouring it all over these beautiful portraits. The next morning when you go to the art gallery and you see this disfigured painting, are you going to get mad at Da Vinci? Are you going to say, what kind of bad creator are you? Why did you do this? I can't believe it. I can't believe everyone said you were good because you apparently are a lousy artist. No. You're going to get mad at the person who tried their best to destroy some good work. You know what? God created us. We are his tapestry. We are his workmanship. And what happens is the enemy comes in and the enemy messes with us. The enemy comes in and he pours pain. He pours defeat in us. And what happens is we end up looking at God and saying, God, I don't know if I trust you because look at your work. Tonight, I want you to see there's something bigger than your circumstances. There's something bigger than the pain you face. And I'm not here to minimize your pain. I realize it's a big deal. If I can sit down at Starbucks with each of you and have a conversation and say, listen, tell me your story. Start with birth, end with now. Tell me all the important things in between. I'll bet there's some of you who would tell me some stories of pain, and there are a lot of things inside of you that make you ask this question, what's the point? But tonight you don't have to leave like that, because you'd be missing something that's hidden in this book. There's something in this book that tells you about the point. Even when life doesn't seem fair, even when life doesn't seem bright, even when there is no hope, here's the good news. Jesus Christ then came and he says, okay, I want to do something about it. But you've got to open up your ears tonight and listen to his voice. There's two options we're going to have. We can listen to voices that drown out purpose in our life, or we can listen to voices that do. Now, I've got something here I want to do here, and I'm not a good singer. Jonathan Lee has never invited me to be in his band, and they make sure my mic is always off whenever I am during worship. They don't turn it on until worship is done. But the thing is, I want to play something tonight from my iPod. And I'm going to put this in my ear and I'm going to sing. You're not going to hear the music, but you'll enjoy my words. And if you know this song, it's a beautiful little ditty, okay? I want you to go ahead and join me, okay? I don't want to be the only one. I'm not here to sing a solo. But sometimes I kind of get discouraged. I do. I get discouraged. And I need something to pump me up. I need something to speak to my spirit. I need something to get me excited and give me some get up and go when I ain't got no more get up and go, okay? And so what I like to do when I'm sad and I'm discouraged, I go to my iPod, and it's like, it takes me to my happy place, okay? So here we go. I'm going to sing. Again, please sing with me. Yeah. You are my fire, my one desire, believe when I say I want it that way, but we are two worlds apart. Can't reach to your heart when you say want it that way. Tell me why. Okay, I apologize that you know that song. Okay, but think about this. When I am rocking out, wow. Long live the Backstreet Boys. Okay, when I am rocking out, I got to tell you something that happens. I often go to my iPod and I like to listen to some music. Have you ever met that person who's like, when their iPod's in, they talk really loud and they assume, yeah. If you've never met that person, you know what that makes you? That person. Okay, so I was rocking out to a really manly song like this, right? And I'm at the gym because that's where I work out, and so I'm there, and I'm running in the gym. I'm running on the treadmill, right? I'm just like, yeah, and all of a sudden, booyah! That's not cool. Because when I'm running, I'm like, because you have to work out your arm pumps, right? So I'm doing that. I arm pumped my way, disconnected from my iPod, right in the middle of my Backstreet Boy workout routine. Not cool. I got so mad at this thing. I can take this iPod and I can say, this thing is broke. You got to be kidding me. What kind of cheap tool is this? I could take it, I could slam it on the ground, I could stomp on it, and I could whine the rest. I can even Facebook status update while I'm mad at my iPod. I could. Or I could pop it back in. Now, I don't know about you, but sometimes I've got to be a little smarter than my emotions and say, okay, even though I'm really mad at this iPod and I don't think my iPod is working, maybe it's because I'm disconnected. And I want you to think about this tonight. God speaks to us. One of the differences, we just sang a song, and some of you, maybe for the first time, you recognize, or you sang this song, and it says, if our God is for us, who can be against us? And we were talking about our God is strong, He's a healer, He's mighty, all these words about God. Here's the deal. The thing about God, about all the other gods that people call gods on the planet, our God hears us and speaks to us. He loves us and values us, and He communicates with us. God is speaking, and if you might be here tonight and something might have happened in your life, because God created you. He gave you family. He gave you life. He gave you breath, but sometimes our family gets messed up. Sometimes life gets messed up, and we're like disconnected. And when you don't hear God speaking to you, when you don't sense God's purpose, what you can do easily is say, what's the point? There must not be no God. God must be broke, and we can take Him, we can chuck Him, we can try and pitch Him out of our lives. But listen, that doesn't mean God's broke. That means somehow we've disconnected. Tonight I want to ask you, are you connected to the right voices? Because we all have choices. Are we going to listen to God's voice? Or whose voices are going to lead us to answer the most important questions of our life? Matthew chapter 14 shares this story. It's kind of a dysfunctional story, so I'll warn you in advance, but I didn't write it, okay? So what happens in Matthew chapter 14, you got this guy named Herod. Herod's this king, but he's kind of like this puppet king. He thinks he's king, but he's not really that powerful. But he's just stuck in this little region, and he's kind of got this region where he's in charge. Well, what happens is this guy was a punk. Herod was a total punk. He didn't respect God or honor God, and he was like this rich dude, and everyone else that lived in his region was poor. And so Herod had all this stuff. Well, there was a guy named John the Baptist who was walking around. He was actually Jesus' cousin. He was walking around, and he told Herod that God wasn't very excited about the choices Herod was making. Because Herod, now check this out, this is kind of gross. Herod had this brother who was also a king. But he liked Herod's brother. Herod liked his brother's wife. Okay? That's like Jerry Springer stuff, right? Okay? So he likes Herod, his sister-in-law. His sister-in-law. So he takes his sister-in-law, he dumps his wife, and says, I want my sister-in-law. Anytime you meet your new bride at a family reunion, that's not cool, okay? That's illegal in 49 states, and Kentucky's working on it, okay? But the thing is, you've got this deal here. And so he takes his sister-in-law, and so he's with her. And his sister-in-law has a daughter who is now, it's like Herod's niece, right? His niece, but now he's like, not Uncle the Hunk Herod, but kind of like stepdaddy, who's your daddy type of Herod. He's like weird, right? Dysfunctional. So sister-in-law, wifey, niece / stepdaughter. So John the Baptist is like, hey Herod. Hey Herod, you're so fun, you blow my mind. Hey Herod. That's not cool, dude. I mean, I know like this is a big deal and this is really going to be a pain to your system, but one of the values of God's word is that we should not marry somebody else's wife. Okay, let's just try and keep to your own wife, you know? And Herod got ticked, which you'd get ticked too if you were trying to marry your sister-in-law and you were the king. So what he does, he chucks John the Baptist in prison. Crazy, okay? So now what happens is Herod's going to have a birthday. And when Herod has the birthday, he's going all out. He's renting the whole party room at Chuck E. Cheese. This guy is going to have the biggest birthday party ever. It's going to be awesome. Everyone's going to know how cool Herod is, how rich he is. And so Herod's having this huge party. In Matthew chapter 14, we see what's going on. And what's crazy is this. He says this, verse 6. on Herod's birthday, the daughter of Herodias, so his niece / stepdaughter, okay? She's probably a teenager at this point. She danced for them and pleased Herod so much that he promised with an oath to give her whatever she asked. Now, a little context here. Herod is having this party with a bunch of guys, and they get hammered, okay? They're so drunk, and I know this is crazy, because the Bible was written like 2,000 years ago, right? So sometimes when it's written so long ago, it makes no sense to our culture, okay? And this is clearly one of those times. But back in those days, 2,000 years ago, sometimes guys would get together and drink too much. I know, crazy, right? And here's where it gets really bizarre and outdated. Sometimes when they get drunk, they want to be entertained sexually. And I know that you're like, what? Guys? Crazy, okay? Now, here's what happens. They say, hey, Herod, you know that stepdaughter of yours? She's so fine, she blows my mind. Hey, could you have her come out and dance for us? And I know what you're thinking. She comes out and does a waltz, does a square dance, whatever she does, right? She ain't doing the hokey pokey, okay? I'm just saying this. It was probably literally like some type of sick striptease where all these drunken guys are like, yes, that's an awesome party event. We like that. This is crazy. This is totally a bunch of people who have no purpose. But what they're doing is they're totally living just based off the whims of their desires. And here's this teenage gal probably who's in this perverted position in life where she doesn't know what to do. She's probably doing everything she's told, but she's about to have an opportunity. Herod got so excited about what happened and how pleased his guests were that he says to her, what do you want? It says he promised with an oath to give her whatever she wanted. Now think about this. This is a guy who owned the land. He was king. He could have legally given her up to half of his kingdom. He could have said, okay, what do you want? One request. Tell me what you want, what you really, really want. He could have said, I can give you control of half the state. She could have asked for a new camel, okay? She could have got new clothing and new whatever they wear, sackcloth, okay? She could have got 16 bags of silver. She could have got whatever she wanted. Crazy opportunity. Check this out. This is crazy. Teenage girl from a dysfunctional environment, crazy surroundings, had an opportunity to get anything she wanted. But here's the problem. She didn't know what she wanted. She didn't know what she wanted. So she had to go ask somebody else what she wanted. Here's what it says. It says, verse 8, prompted by her mother, everyone say mother. She said, give me here on a platter the head of John the Baptist. Now, okay, time out. This is odd. She doesn't know what she wants. She can have anything. This is a huge moment. She's like, I don't know. I don't know what I want. Tell me what I want, what I really, really want. So her mom says, here's what you want. You want here on a silver platter the head of John the Baptist. She's like, awesome, that's cool. Why? Her mom's like, well, everyone's doing it. All the cool kids are getting the head of a prophet on a platter. Moral of the story, never, ever, ever listen to your mother. No, I'm just kidding. That's not the moral of the story. That's not the moral of the story. No. Let me finish. Rude, you interrupted me when she tells you to kill somebody. That's what I meant. Put this guy that I don't like, have him killed. That's what you want. And you know what she says? Okay. Because when you don't know what you want, someone else is going to tell you what you want. And if you don't think about what it is you want in life, don't worry, somebody else has already thought of what they want your life to look like. You do not have to live up to anybody's expectations. You don't have to live with this weight of peer pressure. Here's a gal who faced an incredible opportunity but was drowned by pressure, so she was not able to take advantage of the opportunity. She probably went home from the party that night. This was awesome. I don't know how she like how do you carry that gift, right? She's like, bowling ball bag. I don't know what. She gets home. She puts this gift on her nightstand and goes to sleep. The next morning, when the alarm goes off, and she's one of those, she's like, okay, I just can't hit the snooze button on that. Can you imagine the next morning? I wonder. See, the Bible doesn't mention this girl at all. The rest of the Bible. I don't know what happened. I wonder if the next morning she wakes up and she's like, oh my goodness, was it a dream? No, it wasn't. Sweet. I could have had anything I wanted and I got this. Wow. I'm hanging out from my rearview mirror. That's awesome. Do you think for a second that the next day she was excited about the choice she made? Do you think that 10 years later, when she's got a little toddler, and little toddler says, hey, Mom, can you tell me that story again? You know that time where we could have been wealthy and in charge of everything, but instead you got the head of a John the Baptist? That's a great story. Can you imagine when she's like 60 years old and she's got her little grandkids for the weekend? And they're like, hey, Nana, can you tell us that cool story again? How we can all not live in poverty, but you made that really awesome choice? Tell it again, Nana. It never gets old. Do you think the rest of her life, that young lady was proud of the choice she made? I don't either. But you know what? That's not the only time in human history that someone made a decision at a party because of a bunch of pressure and woke up the next day to some regret. I guarantee there are people in this place who, the problem isn't you're a bad person. God created you. I can't stand it when people say, well, we're all bad apart from God. You are God's creation. How dare anyone call you bad? But you're not going to find your purpose apart from your Creator. God's the one who brings value. No, listen to this. Is God's given you an opportunity. He's given you a choice. He takes all the dysfunction and brokenness of this world, but he somehow arranges a moment of opportunity for us to choose our way out of that dysfunction. Just like that gal. And tonight might be your night where God looks at you and he sees something in you that even you don't see in you. And God looks at you and says, tell me what you want. And it's up to you. And God wants to be able to give you that value because that value is yours through him. There's no way. We try all sorts of things to be able to find value. I was reading this magazine, Outdoor Magazine, and they were talking about some crazy things that people did in order to get value. There was this one dude, what he did is he went, he wanted to set a world record. So he got all these helium balloons and tied them onto his lawn chair. And he wanted to set the world record for altitude gained in a helium balloon-powered lawn chair. This guy successfully set the record, going over 500 feet in the air with helium balloons on his lawn chair. And then when he got that high, he just took out a pellet gun and started popping the balloons so he can come back to Earth. Okay? He crash landed, broke a bunch of bones, but he set a record. Another dude, Jean-Luc Antony, he set the world record for speed going downhill on a monoski without snow, okay? That was his record. He went 72 miles an hour downhill, down rocks and dirt on a double black diamond run. 72 miles an hour, crashed into a bunch of cardboard walls he had built and broke several bones, got the record. But my favorite is a dude named Reg Mallers. Reg Mallers was 72 years old when he set the world record for ferret legging, okay? Now, I don't know in Oregon if this is a varsity sport, but what happens is in the sport of ferret legging, there's very few rules. What you do is you take these baggy pants, and they have tight little ankles, right? So they're tight there, nothing can get out. And you take these baggy trousers and you pull them out and you drop, kerplop, 2 ferrets. You know what a ferret is? Ferret is like a set of knife with fur. Okay, that's what a ferret is. Like, these animals are. And so you drop them and then you pull the drawstring really tight. So you got tight ankles, tight waist, and 2 not parrots. Probably want a cracker? No, ferrets in your pants. The rules of ferret legging are simple. You stand in front of a panel of judges, and you just have to stand there without making any sudden noises or sudden motions, okay? So you're like, duck, duck, goose. You know, Reg Mallers, at the age of 72, set the world record for ferret legging, standing in front of judges with 2 ferrets in his pants for 5 hours and 29 minutes. Those ferrets were tapping out. Let me out of here. Okay, it's like, Now, can you imagine? This sport done every year in Scotland, this festival. And they got world record. And people do that because they want a record. I can't imagine the kind of scars all over your legs you would have from an animal. But you know what? In this room tonight, there are people who have far worse scars. It's not because of an animal. It's because of choices that you have made or others have made. Choices maybe that you made in order to fit in, to be valued, to be accepted. And we chase after something thinking, if I do this, then. If I can drink that bottle, then I'll be accepted. If I can take that pill, if I can climb in that back seat, if I can do this or if I can do that, if I can just study hard enough, if I can just practice more, whatever I need to do, if I can be funny enough, if I can put someone else down, if I can do this, if I can do that, then I'll find value. But when we do that, trying to find value through anything else outside of God, we end up scarred and hurting. But if you come tonight and you say, okay, God, here's the deal. You created me. You created all things that were good. And you've got to admit, man, we've done a pretty decent job of messing up God's creation. Now, I know when we look at our world, man, there's so much pollution and junk and all this stuff going on. And it's not because God created it that way. It's because we kind of get in the way. And I've been a part of the problem, and you've been a part of the problem. Everyone in this room has been a part of the problem of taking God's creation and not always taking good care of it, and taking God's creation, namely us, and not always taking good care of it and making the choices. But that doesn't mean God gives up. What God does is says, okay, here's the deal. There's a path back. If the enemy's going to come in and mess us up and is going to speak to you, he's going to speak lies to you, then I'm going to speak truth. Here's 2 lies the enemy's going to speak to you really quick. Number 1 is this, that the decisions I make are so small, there's no way they can mess me up. That this decision is so small, there's no way it can mess me up. What's the point of worrying about this decision I'm about to make? There's no way it'll really impact me because it's a small decision. Hear this really clearly. The decisions you make in the days to come are going to shape your future. The decisions you make about how you respect yourself and the person you date next time you date somebody are going to be big decisions. The decisions you make today about what you're going to do with Jesus Christ is a huge decision because it shapes your future. You and I don't face small decisions. You and I face decisions that will shape you. The way you treat your parents, the decision to honor them, the decision to respect them will greatly impact your ability to parent one day. Your decision to be able to go to classes that you don't want to go to, read books you don't want to read, will greatly impact your future. The decisions you make are not so small. Don't listen to that lie. The second lie the enemy's going to say and put in your ear is your mistake was so big there's no way you can recover. 2 lies. The decision you're about to face is so small it doesn't matter. Or number 2, the mistake you've made is so big there's nothing you can do to recover. Some of you in this room, you feel like right now there's no way It's too late. That you've already messed up with purity. You've already messed up with drugs and alcohol. You've already messed up with an identity. You've already got an attitude, a reputation, a lifestyle, a label, whatever it might be. There ain't no label. There ain't no attitude. There ain't no addiction that can't be broken through Jesus Christ. And tonight, it's your decision. Don't you sit here tonight and blame your past on not being able to make a good decision for your future. Tonight is the one opportunity you have. And God might give you more opportunities. So I'm not trying to scare you, but I'm trying to be clear tonight. Tonight is an opportunity to look at your life. And if you don't know, man, what is the point? Tonight's the night to say, God, I need purpose. I need value. I haven't found it outside of you. So tonight I come to you and I ask for that. That's your opportunity tonight, to find value through Jesus Christ. There is no other way. God says in John chapter 10, Jesus is talking. He says that he has come to give us life and life to the full, life overflowing. He's come to give us the kind of life that has a point and purpose that leaks over. It's the big gulp life. It's like when you go to a gas station and you want to get a pop, a soda, and you go and you got fountain. I love fountains, and you put your cup and you don't get the little itty bitty cup when you go to the fountains. You get like the big bladder burster. You're like, get this out of here, And you don't fill up a big gulp halfway. You don't do that. That's illegal. You do what I do. You fill it up all the way. And the whole time it gets bigger, you're like, yeah, that's going to be awesome, Now, you're not going to drink it all, but it just feels good carrying it to the counter, And you fill it up until it overflows. And then you look left, you look right, and you fill it up again after you sip it, okay? That's what we do. God came to give us a big gulp life. Check this out. God came to give you that kind of life. He says, what do you want? I've got life. I got purpose. You don't know what the point is? I've got it for you. And so here's my challenge to you. When God wants to give you the kind of life that leaks and overflows and more purpose than you even know what to do with, God's saying, okay, go for it. Or are you going to take a little thimble and say, no, I'm fine. I'm totally cool. No, I'm not even thirsty. Or are you going to be like, okay, and fill up your life overflowing? Tonight is your life overflowing. I want to wrap it up here in a second. But as I do this, there was a time recently when I was in Lewiston, Idaho. And I don't know if you know anything about Lewiston, Idaho, but let's just say this. They got a paper mill in the factory, and it reeks, okay? People say it smells like money. No. Money don't stink like that, okay? No one's ever ripped one and someone says, wow, someone just broke a 20, okay? No. That's not the smell of money, That's just the smell of stink. But Lewiston smells. You're from Lewiston? I'm sorry. I really am. I'm sorry. Okay, but what happens is I'm there, and I want to fly home. I've been away from my family. I'm like, okay, I need to get home now. I get on Alaska Airlines, and I'm ready to fly to Seattle. And it's a crowded flight. And all of a sudden, the person who does the announcing, the steward or the host or whoever it is, comes up and says, hey, we have a full flight, and we have just exceeded our weight capacity on this flight. I'm thinking, that's kind of funny, Bunch of fatties, okay, The guy next to me is like, I'm not fat, I'm just hard to kidnap, okay? All right. So they said we've exceeded our weight capacity, and so we're going to have to ask someone to get off the plane. And I'm like, oh boy, who are they going to pick? Like, you, okay, no. So they say we need a volunteer. So I'm like, bing! I hit my call button. Not because I'm polite. Please don't misunderstand me, okay? I'm not that dude who's like, oh, please let me suffer and smell Lewiston a little more, okay? No. I'm like, okay, I'll do it, okay? Because of this little picture I wanted to show you, okay? A little picture they have right there. That's what I scanned it and copied. That is a bonus travel ticket that they gave me. They said, okay, if you get off this flight and take the next flight in 2 hours, we will give you a free ticket that goes anywhere Alaska flies. I'm like, yeah, Alaska flies some really cool places. They fly to Cancun. They fly to Hawaii. They fly to Yakima, Washington. They fly to all the exotic places, right? So I'm like, okay, here's the deal. 2 more hours in stinky Lewiston, Hawaii. So I took Hawaii. Now, I could take that voucher, and I could take that down to the airport tomorrow. And I can take that voucher right there to the United Airlines counter, and I can slap that voucher on the United Airlines counter and says, okay, take me to Hawaii. Hang loose. And you know what they're going to tell me? Sorry. We can't send you to Hawaii. I'd be like, I got a voucher. I was in Lewiston 2 extra hours. It was really smelly. I want to go to Hawaii. They're like, no, I'm sorry. This is United Air, and that's a voucher for Alaska Air. And I can take that voucher and say, fine, I'm going to go to Southwest Airline, slap that Hummer on their counter and say, send me to Hawaii. I've got a straw hat, a flower shirt, and zinc oxide on my nose. And they'll say, hey, we're so excited for you, but you ain't going to Hawaii. Because this is Southwest Air and that's Alaska Air. You got to read that. And I would open it up, and there's some small print in there. And guess what it says in the small print? And it's an airline word. And airline words sometimes are really confusing, so I'll try and explain it, okay, to a church crowd. But it says this. This ticket may only be, and here comes the weird airline word, okay, so try and understand what this means. This ticket may only be redeemed at Alaska Airlines. Okay, now, I get all shades of confused when airline terminology sneaks into the church. So let me explain what they mean when they say redeemed. What they mean is, this ticket has a whole pile of value. However, you can take something that's got a ton of value to the wrong counter, and no one will recognize the value in that ticket because they didn't create the ticket. In order to get the value that's in the ticket out of the ticket, you got to bring the ticket to the one that created the ticket, and then you'll have your value, and that's what they call redeemed. So what if for a second, as a church, we borrowed that airline terminology and applied it to our lives? And we talked about something called being redeemed. And what if we meant that every one of you has value? But some of you looked everywhere. And you've shopped at different counters. You've shopped at the counters of relationships or activity or acceptance. And you have not had value shown to you. And you wondered if you have any value at all. But tonight, God is saying, listen, there is so much value in you, but you're not going to get that value shopping at those other counters. You've got to go to the one who created you. Your Creator sees who you are. Your Creator knows who you are, and your Creator can draw the value that's in you out of you. Tonight, I need you to check yourself. Ask yourself this question. What's the point? If you've been listening to the enemy's lies, that doesn't make you a bad person. That makes you someone who needs to disconnect from the lies of the enemy. You might not even believe there was an enemy, but you believed his lies, that you're not valuable, you don't have what it takes, that you can never have peace, you can never have purpose. But you know what? Jesus Christ came. He sent his son. Jesus Christ is God's son 2,000 years ago, came onto earth. And it was God in the bod, Jesus Christ walking around in human skin. He had his earth suit on. And he's walking around, and he lived a perfect life and died a sinner's death. He died a criminal's death, got nailed to a tree. It was the worst form of capital punishment ever known to man. He gets nailed to this tree, but it wasn't done. Here's the cool thing. When God's son was killed and buried in the grave, he didn't stay there. He had power. It's huge. Listen, if Jesus Christ can raise from the dead, don't tell me your addiction can't be cured. Don't tell me that your attitude can't be changed. Don't tell me that your dysfunction can't have order again, because God didn't stay buried. He came out of the grave, he is alive today, and he asks you a question. He's the king of the land, and he says, tell me what you want. Do you know what you want? Do you want life overflowing? Are you willing to take your pain, your sin, your choices, your circumstances, and say, God, this isn't me. I want you to redeem my life and give me that value that I've been looking for.
Thank you for listening to the 2010 Oregon Youth Convention podcast. For more information on the Oregon Ministry Network and our events, please visit our website at oregonag.org.